AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. This credential helps organizations identify and develop talent with critical knowledge related to implementing cloud initiatives. Earning AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner validates cloud fluency and foundational AWS knowledge. So it's basically it's the most basic AWS certification. So if you want to learn about the cloud, this is a great way, with AWS. Hello, my name is Celito Rodriguez, and this series of videos we will cover all the questions, basically simulation questions to what you would find in the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification. So again, this is a basic certification. Someone who's starting, or maybe you are fluent in Microsoft Azure and you want to learn about AWS. So AWS, it's one of the big three. Together with Microsoft Azure, Google, AWS, it's actually the biggest player in town when it comes to workloads and services in the cloud. So it's a great entry-level certification for someone who wants to know more about AWS. So again, the exam is for entry-level people. You should have some basic knowledge of IT and that kind of stuff, and maybe even if you don't have hands-on experience in AWS, you can create a AWS free account and just play around and navigate through the different stuff to gain some experience. So it's a foundational level exam. It takes about 90 minutes to complete, and it costs $100. The exam has 65 questions, which are either multiple choice or multiple response. And again, you can either go to a center, like a certification center, like Pearson VUE or PSI, or you could basically take a proctor exam. You could take it online. You could take it at home if you wanted to. Question number 1. You need to analyze several terabytes worth of unstructured data using columnar storage. Which type of database would you use? The correct answer is Amazon Redshift. Amazon Redshift is a petabyte scaled infrastructure that is considered a data warehouse solution. Amazon Redshift has the ability to process both the structured and unstructured data. It uses columnar storage for query performance, which reduces the amount of data loaded from disk to memory, lessening the amount of I/O needed for processing. Amazon Aurora is a relational database that offers PostgreSQL and MySQL compatible database solutions. This database is a relational database system, not a data warehouse environment. Amazon DynamoDB database provides a NoSQL database service that delivers millisecond returns on data to the end user or application. It is a non-relational database rather than a database warehouse environment. And finally, Amazon RDS is a database cloud solution for applications that require Oracle, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, and Amazon Aurora. Amazon Redshift is better suited for processing terabytes worth of data. So here's a screenshot of the Redshift. in Amazon, I mean, Amazon has so many services. Once you log in to the AWS portal, the best thing is to just basically search for things. So there is this search bar on top of the page when you go in, and if you type in Redshift, then this will come up, and then if you click on this, then it will take you to this page. And then here you can get started with the Amazon Redshift serverless NoSQL database, and obviously depending on what is it that you want to create. So remember that this is for storing huge amounts of data. Amazon gives you a 500 credit for free, so that you can try this out. So you can create a again, a free account. You get so just to kind of play around with this stuff and get some experience. So if you click on create and you go through the process, obviously you need you would the database name, network and security. You configure the virtual private cloud where it's going to be, a VPC security group, the subnet. You can put the permissions, all kinds of stuff over there, and then you just go. It's very easy, simple process. Just make a few choices, and there you go. Obviously, depending on all the stuff that you choose, the prices could go really high. So you got to be careful when you are in the cloud. What is it that you want to the resources that you want to use. So once you click next, then it'll come to the final stage where it'll take a few minutes, as it says over here, to create the database, and then you click on continue. Okay, so here is the the dashboard. You just basically go through the steps and make a couple of choices in a couple of seconds. There you go. Here is your Amazon Redshift database. This is another view. You can look at the database, you can look at queries, you can look at charts, different ways of kind of navigating, looking at the this is the editor. You can create data, you can load data, and there you go. So this is a brief introduction to what the Redshift it's about. This is basically the query editor that you can use to work with your data, if you have any. Obviously, we don't have anything here. Question number 2. Your manager wants you to analyze all of the logs from several different applications running within your AWS EC2 infrastructure. Which AWS component would you use for this type of logging functionality? The correct answer here is A, CloudWatch Logs Agent. You would use the Amazon CloudWatch Logs Agent to store, monitor, and review log files from several different EC2 instances, as well as from AWS Route 53 and AWS CloudTrail. This can be done by having CloudWatch logs keep up with the number of errors generated from each application log, and then send notifications when a specific threshold has been broken. Amazon CloudFormation is not used for tracking errors within log files. CloudFormation creates a standard infrastructure for automating resources needed for application processing. This service does not cost anything, but the resources associated with this process do. Dynamic scaling is used for adding EC2 instances to or removing them from your AWS environment based on the demands of the system. It is not related to studying log files. And HTTPS load balancers are used to manage encrypted connections that use transport layer security TLS protocols. These connections are HTTPS sessions that are load balancers or load balanced rather between the HTTP session and the load balancer. Again, this option is not used for focusing on application logging. And again, if you are in the AWS portal, you just click on search for CloudWatch, and here you would have the CloudWatch, where you could look at, a whole bunch of stuff in your environment, especially logs related to your instances. And the instances are the compute, basically the virtual machine, the VMs that you have in your infrastructure. So you can look at alarms, you can look at logs, you can look at metrics, events, insights, application monitoring, and all that kind of stuff. So this is, basically logging in the world of Microsoft, for example, if you're familiar with Microsoft. Question number 3. When thinking about expenditure awareness, which component allows you to keep up with employees, project listings, and technology resources over time within the AWS infrastructure? And the correct answer is B, entity lifecycle tracking. Entity lifecycle tracking is a focal point of expenditure awareness within an AWS environment. You can identify resources that are not being used or track projects that have missing or unused resources. You can also use AWS configuration resources for identifying assets within inventory. Amazon CloudWatch and CloudTrail are used for analyzing lifecycle events within your system. Tagging is primarily used for billing purposes. It allows you to create business categories and then apply pseudo tags to those resources so that you can run detailed billing reports. Cost attribution is focused more on the costs of your AWS resources as they relate to your financial goals and less on tracking unused resources. And finally, stakeholders refer to relevant human resources that make financial decisions based on a specific business needs and include, the CFOs, business unit leaders, tech leads, and key third parties. Question 4. Which option is considered a cost-effective resource discussed in the AWS framework pillar of cost optimization? And the correct answer is B, appropriate provisioning. Appropriate provision is creating and maintaining the underlying AWS resources to support your business needs. You have to be able to manage services to support basic capacity demands, and proper provision is the key. When you provision a managed service, you have to comply with the requirements. Those requirements are based on unforeseen changes to normal business operations, overall effort, and time itself. Fixed sizing is not considered a cost-effective resource. The purpose of utilizing AWS resources is your ability to configure right sizing or adaptive resources to your infrastructure, right? Using reserved instances only is not considered a cost-effective resource. You do not have to limit your AWS environment to just reserved instances. You have 3 options: reserved, spot, and on-demand instances. limiting regions is not considered a cost-effective resource either. When you utilize AWS resources, you have the ability to expand your business to multiple geographic regions based on your business demand, allowing you to expand to multiple regions at any given time. Question 5. Which auto-scaling option configures a unique number of instances that run 24/7? The correct answer here is C, maintain current level. If you want a specific or minimum number of instances to be executed 24/7, then you would use a maintain current level type of auto-scaling plan. A sporadic health check is performed on all executing instances. When it finds an unhealthy or sick instance, it terminates that instance and creates a new instance automatically. These notifications can be generated from an ELB, a customer health check script, or the Amazon EC2. Dynamic scaling adds or subtracts Amazon EC2 instances based on changes in demand. The maintain current level scaling only utilizes a minimum number of instances and does not change based on demand. Scaling manages EC2 instances based on workload patterns that are created at predetermined times. Maintain current levels is primarily focused on the minimum number of EC2 instances running and not based on a time or a schedule. And finally, manual scaling is when you manually customize, adding or subtracting Amazon EC2 instances within the Amazon EC2 console. This option is based on adding or subtracting instances that is typically done in earlier configurations or later on after the application has been up and running and experiences an increase in customer workloads or new processes. Question number 6. As an IT specialist with a cloud background, you are concerned with the overall recoverability of your data within the cloud. What does Amazon S3 offer to alleviate this concern? The correct answer is D. The S3 infrastructure is considered eventually consistent. Amazon S3 storage systems are classified as eventually consistent, which means data is dynamically copied through an automated process to several locations and service within the same region. Because of this, the changes to some of your objects could have minimal delays depending on the amount of changes in question. Data is replicated to other locations within the same region. The locations within each region are called availability zones. You can have many availability zones within one region. An availability zone is a specific location within a region. You must remember that data is only copied to multiple availability zones within the same region and not multiple regions. This is why Amazon S3 is a highly durable solution for protecting data. Data is not backed up using a tape backup solution. Instead, data is replicated to other availability zones. Data is not stored in silos in another country. Data resides within AWS infrastructure and within the same region. And finally, data is not replicated to multiple regions within an availability zone. S3 has multiple availability zones within a specific region. So if you click on the storage in the AWS portal, these are the different kinds of storage. So you have the, well, first of all, we're talking about the S3, which is a scalable storage in the cloud. But then you have AWS Backup, right? Which, centrally manages and automates backups across AWS services. You have EFS, which is a managed file storage for EC2. You have AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery, which is a scalable, cost-effective application recovery to AWS. You have FSX, which is a fully managed third-party file system optimized for a variety of workloads. And then again, S3, which is the common for EC2 instances. This is one of the most popular type of storage used. And then you have S3 Glacier, which is archive storage in the cloud. And finally, you have the storage gateway, which is a hybrid storage integration, which basically means that you can integrate the AWS cloud with your on-premises environment, right? And then access your data and from the cloud. So again, you can leverage integration between the cloud and your own company on-premises. So once you click on S3, you'll come to this page, and here you can create buckets. And buckets are kind of like containers of a storage, right? In the cloud, where you can store objects. Everything's stored as an object. Store files, documents, Word, PDF, video, whatever you name it, right? Those are in buckets. And in those buckets, you can create the concept of a folder. I mean, it's not exactly, but what a folder would be on a traditional, hard drive. But again, there is a concept of a folder that you can create, let's say, a marketing bucket and a human resources bucket, an engineering bucket. And then within those buckets, you can create folders, maybe new employees, salaries, marketing material, etc. So you can organize your data that way. And again, so you can choose the region where you want that to be stored, the kind of access. So you could also have like a public stuff where you can create, let's say, data for a website that you have, or create a website, that kind of stuff. Question number 7. Which of the following instance types supports Amazon EBS encryption and is within the memory optimized instance family? The correct answer here is R4 that large. The R4 that large instance type supports memory intensive applications. It is a cheaper price option compared to the R3 instance types. Some of the key features of the R4 optimized instance types are enhanced network, DDR4 memory, and the Intel Xeon processors. A good use case for this type of instance is real-time analysis utilizing big data and large in-memory caching applications. Large in-memory caching applications. T2.nano is classified as a general-purpose instance type, and you would not associate large in-memory application with this instance type. The C4.large is classified as a compute-optimized instance family and not as a memory intensive instance family. And the D2.X large is classified as a storage optimized instance family and not a memory intensive instance family. This instance type is good for applications that require larger amounts of IOPS, input-output processing, whatever. Always forget about the the acronym is there. And so again, amounts of IOPS when reading and writing to disk. So here we are within the AWS portal, and then if you search or click on compute, so these are all services, and then if you click on compute, you go to this page, and in this page, so you have the launch button for the instance. This is where you're going to create your VM. So if you click on this drop bound box over here, you're going to get to the different instances, and then you can choose whatever. You have to scroll down in this page, but there are a lot of instances types depending on how much storage do you need, how much memory do you need, how powerful the CPU, how many CPUs do you want, the type of networking that you want, and that kind of stuff. But here we are talking about the R4 family, and again, so it depends on how much memory and all that kinds of stuff. And we also were talking about the EBS and the network performance. So this is where you would get that kind of stuff. And finally, you would create and review and launch, and then create your VMs. And so here you could actually filter out. So if you don't want to have all that noise over there, you can filter out by family. And so these are all the different type of families. Then you can see the number of CPUs, the amount of memory, the type of storage, right? That's what the EBS is talking about. And the EBS optimized available. So all of these are, optimized available. The network performance, and whether it supports IPv6 or not, and that kind of stuff. So you get all that stuff from here. Question number 12, number 8. What is a geographic area that houses several isolated AWS availability zones called? And the correct answer here is D, AWS region. Amazon Web Services are hosted in several AWS regions and availability zones. A region is a unique geographic area of the world that is independent from other regions. Each region is broken down into multiple availability zones for fault tolerance and stability purposes. Also, Amazon does not directly replicate or use Amazon resources across AWS regions. This is done by using the Amazon Machine Images, or AMI. But you are required to copy the AMI to the required region if you want those resources duplicated in another region. An endpoint is considered a unique URL that points to an Amazon Web Service. An endpoint is not a geographic area. US East, North Virginia, it's an example of a specific region that is directly or indirectly selected from within the AWS console. And Amazon Relational Database Service, Amazon RDS, is not correct because this resource is a relational database service within the Amazon Cloud Services that allows you to administer or a scalable database on the cloud, and it has nothing to do with geographic areas. So here is, if you Google it up, you can go to the regions and availability zones, and this is some kind of like a nice map that it will show you. For example, these are the availability, the regions within the US. You can take a look at regions in South America, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Pacific and that kind of stuff. So interesting stuff there. Question 9. What is the purpose behind configuring dynamic architectures for growth and elasticity on AMS? The correct answer here is A. AWS usage should be focused on building application spread across multiple availability zones and regions. AWS usage should be focused on building applications spread across multiple availability zones and regions. You can always extend your application by adding load balancers and additional availability zones to your pre-configured scaling group, but spreading your application workloads across different availability zones and even regions will create a level of increased elasticity with expanding application functionality and data integrity. Question number 10. Which AWS service provides protection against DDoS attacks for free and is a key component of the reliability pillar within AWS framework? And the correct answer here is C, AWS Shield. AWS Shield is a key AWS service provided by the AWS network topology infrastructure that is free of charge and provides automatic defense against distributed denial of service DDoS attacks. This service will also protect other AWS services such as Amazon Route 53, Elastic Load Balancers, and CloudFront distributions. AWS Direct Connect allows you to have a private connection between your on-premises systems and AWS resources. This service is not made for protection against DDoS attacks. AWS Route 53 is a domain name services DNS service that works directly with the load balancer to distribute workloads while protecting the flow of customer distributions. This service does not help with protection against DDoS attacks. And finally, AWS Elastic Load Balancer, or ELB, is responsible for controlling workloads across multiple availability zones while merging auto-scaling components that will alleviate abnormal increases or decreases in resources. But it is not made for protection against DDoS attacks. And here is an example. So again, you go to AWS, log in, you search for AWS Shield, and you know, here it is. Here you will come to this. You can click on getting started. There's, you know, overview, protect the resources, etc. And this is where you can create that. Now, remember, this is not a class. It's an introduction class just for you to know where things are. So we're not going to go ahead and create these things, but just basically to become familiar with what they are and how to find them in the AWS portal. Question 11. Which AWS framework pillar is focused on continual improvement and refinement of system resources over the complete infrastructure life cycle? And the correct answer is B, cost optimization. Cost optimization is a framework pillar that supports the improvement and efficiencies of an AWS infrastructure over its complete life cycle. The purpose of cost optimization is to meet functional requirements while achieving the smallest price point available. From a design perspective, its principles are overall efficiency, consumption modeling, not spending money on data centers, analyzing expenditures, and using managed services. Performance efficiency is a framework pillar that supports computing resources to maintain and meet business requirements as technologies change over time within the AWS infrastructure. The focus on performance rather than improvement and refinement. Storage is a sub-component found under the performance pillar. Storage refers to the different types of storage relating to file, block, and object level storage. But this is not related to the improvement and refinement pillar. Reliability is focused on the stability of AWS systems and their ability to support business value with long uptimes and durable systems. This pillar is not focused on improvement and refinement, but rather the durability and uptime of an AWS resource. And again, so if you look for cost optimization, you come to what's called the Trust Advisor, and then here you can, configure a number of things related to. So you can check for the cost optimization. Obviously, I have the free tier. I'm not paying for any of these things, so some of these features or a lot of the features are not available to me. But if you want to have access to this feature, then you will have to upgrade, and obviously you're gonna have to pay. But basically, for this exam, you just need to know what the concept is and how to find and that kind of stuff. Question 12. What is the total number of virtual private clouds, VPCs, that you can have within an individual region? And the correct answer is 5. So when it comes to limitations within AWS, you have to know that you can only have 5 VPCs within each individual region. The reason for this limitation is because of the dependency associated with the limitation of internet gateways per region. So when it comes to further calculations regarding security groups, you take the number of VPCs within a region and multiply by the number of security groups. This number cannot be more than 5,000. So 200 is the default number of subnets per VPC. 50 is the number of default routes within the route table. The maximum is 100, and 500 is the default number of security groups per VPC or per region. The maximum cannot exceed 5,000. And again, so if you go into the AWS portal, you look for VPCs, and then here are the VPCs. So obviously, when you create your account, when you create any resource, you have a VPC. Like this is the VPC that I have when I created this. Here it's the IP address, here's the state, right? And again, so you can create another one. Now, within this region, within one region, remember that you cannot create more than 5. Question 13. Which types of instances would an auto-scaling group use? Choose all that apply. And the correct answer here it's A. Instances classifies as spot, and instances classify as on demand. So A and E. When you implement an auto-scaling group, you have 2 primary methods for managing additional EC2 instances for your workloads: spot instances and on-demand instances. The spot instances are requests for otherwise unused instances. which can help reduce the overall price of your environment because they consume fewer resources. On-demand instances are charged by each second for their overall resources to your AWS environment. When you use an auto-scaling group to manage your instance, you cannot use an instance that is running or one that is used by another AWS resource. If an instance is stopped, the auto-scaling group marks the instance as unhealthy and launches a new instance. Auto-scaling groups do not use on-premises instances because they are not considered AWS resources. Question 14. Which service allows you to create and manage several different types of databases within the cloud? And the correct answer here is B, Amazon RDS. Amazon Relational Database Services, RDS, can scale, operate, and configure several different types of relational databases within the Amazon cloud infrastructure. It allows you to easily provision database selection, hardware setup, backups, and even patching. Database Migration Service is a product used to easily migrate or replicate data to an Amazon RDS infrastructure. This service does not allow you to create databases. Amazon DynamoDB is a NoSQL database solution within the Amazon infrastructure that is inexpensive and has unlimited storage capacity. Amazon DynamoDB is a specific relational database and does not allow you to create other database solutions. And finally, Amazon Redshift, which we have already talked about, is an Amazon warehouse solution for managing up to petabytes of data. It increases performance using columnar storage technology by increasing I/O blocks across a multiple node solution. This product does not allow you to create other relational database solutions either. And so if you look for RDS, Amazon RDS, you come to the databases. This is where you interact with that. And so here we have the Amazon Aurora. And again, so if you click on create, then you come to this page, and here you can choose to create either Amazon Aurora, that's like the default. You can create MySQL, or you can create a MariaDB. You can use the standard create, you can use the easy create, depending on what you want to do. Your PostgreSQL, you can create an Oracle database, so you can create a Microsoft SQL. A lot of choices when it comes to databases in the Amazon cloud. Question 15. What is an Amazon solution for creating a logical private connection between a remote network and an Amazon VPC? And the correct answer is A, the AWS Direct Connection. So an Amazon AWS Direct Connection is a private connection that links your remote network to an Amazon VPC. Another way of describing an AWS Direct Connection is a link between your on-premises network and your Amazon VPC. This type of connection can increase network bandwidth, drastically lower network costs, and create network consistency. You can also choose your direct connection between level by selecting a 10 gigabit per second or a 1 gigabit per second dedicated connection. Hardware VPN is a way of creating a hardware VPN connection to an AWS network component that is attached to the Amazon VPC. This type of connection is physical to logical because you would be connecting from hardware to the VPC, which is virtual. Vpc Peering is a highly recommended solution for or rather to connect in several Amazon VPC within an individual region. This option is for linking large geographic regions together versus creating a direct connection from an on-premises network to an Amazon VPC. And finally, the AWS VPN Cloud Hub is a way of connecting local offices together in a specific networking configuration that is used as a primary network or a backup, depending on the architecture. The limitation with this is the level of internet connectivity and upload and download speeds. And finally, this is the last question in this set of questions. Question 16, what type of Amazon VPC endpoint focuses on AWS services related only to DynamoDB and Amazon S3 components? And the correct answer here is the gateway type endpoint. So a gateway type endpoint does not require an internet gateway and has a primary function to link communication between AWS services and your logical VPC. This particular endpoint only works with an Amazon DynamoDB and the Amazon S3 services. The Amazon VPC only consists of two unique endpoints called interface type endpoints and gateway type endpoints. An interface type endpoint creates a private connection to AWS services on your side of the network that links your company resources to Amazon AWS using Direct Connect. This type of endpoint uses more services than just Amazon DynamoDB and the Amazon S3 services. Again, VPC Peering, we talked about it, is a highly recommended solution for connecting several Amazon VPCs within an individual region. This option is for linking large geographic regions together versus creating a direct connection from an on-premises network to an Amazon VPC. And Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC, is a logical entity that gives you the ability to create subnets, modify IP address ranges, change network gateways, configure route tables, and modify advanced security settings to build your own logical network. All right, so this is the end of this first set of questions. So there are 32 questions in this first domain of this certification. So these are the 4 domains: cloud concepts, security and compliance, technology, billing and pricing. So we are still on domain 1, on the first part. So there will be 2 sets of questions. So the first set of questions, part 1 was 16 questions. The second is going to be 16 more questions. And then we'll complete the domain 1. Then we'll go next with security and compliance and technology and so forth until we'll go over all the simulation questions for this certification. So I hope to see you on my next video. Or rather, I hope that you watch my next video. And if you could please, if you like this kind of videos, just to motivate me to keep on doing this, please, give a like on my YouTube channel, and that would be much appreciated.